America is a vast land with many roller coasters within her borders. There are 50 different states in the country, with each having its own unique collection of roller coasters, unless you are Rhode Island, Delaware, or Hawaii. But we won't be talking about those states today. Today we are ranking every state by the number of roller coasters they have. This is a massive undertaking, one that I knew I'd need some help with. So that's why I asked my friend, or sometimes rival in fantasy football, Chris from Airtime Thrills, to help me out. If you haven't heard of Chris, which I highly doubt because he literally has over 10 times the amount of subscribers that I have, and he makes some of the most entertaining coaster content out there. To make things even better, we even share a birthday. If all that wasn't enough for you, this is actually the second episode of a two-part series. Episode 1 is over on Chris's channel, where I helped him count down the 25 states with the smallest coaster collections. All of that video linked in the description for you guys, as well as in the iCard above, so be sure to check that out at some point. In this episode, we'll be counting down the top 25 states with the largest number of roller coasters. So if you're a coaster enthusiast trying to figure out where to live, this video is definitely for you. Before we kick off this video, I'd just like to remind you all that we are working against the YouTube algorithm, and the best thing you can do to help out is like the video. Also, if you're new here, make sure to subscribe, as we make all kinds of roller coaster and amusement park based content that you certainly won't want to miss. The way this video will work is that I'll be counting down 3 sets of 5 states, and then Chris will count down 2 sets of 5 states in alternating fashion. So don't get concerned when the voice randomly changes. That said, let's start this off with New Hampshire taking the number 25 spot. So New Hampshire is technically tied with Washington with 10 coasters, but N comes first in the alphabet, so that's why New Hampshire is here and not on the first video. There's no big parks in New Hampshire that really carry the load, so instead there's a bunch of smaller parks with a few coasters each. Canopy Lake Park leads the pack with 3 coasters headlined by a Gerstlauer Eurofighter called Untamed, followed by Storyland and Santa's Village with 2 coasters apiece. Throw in 3 more mountain coasters and there's your 10. The lone state with 11 coasters is Kentucky, sliding in at our number 24 spot. Fittingly enough, Kentucky Kingdom owns almost half of the state's coaster collection with a total of 5 coasters inside of the park. This park owes 3 of those coasters to Ed Hart. Storm Chaser, Lightning Run, and Kentucky Flyer are all great coasters to lead the state's collection. Beach Bend tacks on a field goal's worth of coasters, with Kentucky Rumbler, a Wild Mouse, and an SBF spinning coaster. Speaking of SBF spinning coasters, that is what the final 3 coasters in the state are, scattered across 3 different Malibu Jacks locations. The first of 2 states with 12 coasters is Wisconsin. Mount Olympus leads the charge in the Big Cheese with 5 coasters, 4 of them being made of wood. Also in the Dells, there's 2 standalone kiddie coasters to help pad the numbers. Little America is a close second with 4 coasters, including one of the few coasters where you get to ride in a cage with Swiss Toboggan. And perhaps the state's best coaster in Zippin' Pippin is located in Green Bay at Bay Beach all by itself. Our second state to don a dozen coasters is North Carolina, which you could argue has a lot more. However, since Carowinds is on the state border with South Carolina, we decided to dice up the count based on which state the station for each coaster is located in, which gives us an even 7 coasters for each state. Using that methodology, North Carolina gets to claim the title of owning the best steel coaster in the world according to the Golden Ticket Awards with Theory 325, and it also takes coasters like Hurler and Carolina Cyclone along with it. The state also boasts 3 mountain coasters as well to add some depth to the collection. Making our way up to the 14 coaster class, we have South Carolina. Here you get the other half of Carowinds, which includes Intimidator, not the 305 one, Copperhead Strike, and Afterburn. So basically all the good coasters in the park outside of Fury, which I still haven't ridden. Anyways, the other 7 coasters are located in Myrtle Beach, where you can find the legendary Swamp Fox and a bunch of kids coasters.
Coming in with 14 coasters is America's Oven Mitt, Michigan. Half of these coasters come from Cedar Fair's finest park, Michigan's Adventure. 6 of their 7 coasters coming before Cedar Fair bought them in 2001. Thanks a lot, Cedar Fair. And Shivering Timbers being the headliner of the park and the state. This is the only major park in the state. They have 7 other coasters scattered around. Of note, Power Surge at Airway Fun Center, an SBF spinning coaster that has one of those claustrophobic hamster wheels. Starting the group of 15, we have Utah. And if you were thinking this is just kiddie coasters, alpine coasters, and lagoon, then you'd be wrong. It's kiddie coasters, alpine coasters, and lagoon. Okay, you were right. Lagoon makes up 12 of the 15, led by one of the best coasters in the country, Cannibal, and good supporting coasters like Wicked, Colossus the Fire Dragon, and the new for 2023, Primordial. Also with 15 is Iowa, and this has 3 major parks. You got Arnold's Park in the northwest. That's where you're going to find the 1930 wooden classic, Legend. Plus, one of the jankiest Wild Mouse coasters you'll ever see. In the northeast, you have the brand new Lost Island, home of the intimate accelerator Matugani, and one of the jankiest SLCs you'll ever see. Its name is actually just telling you what to do. No Puco. Finally, in the middle, you have the state's biggest park, Adventureland. Its headliner being the phenomenal Gerstlauer Infinity Coaster, Monster. The last state with 15 is Massachusetts. This state is so old, there are 67 defunct coasters and only 15 active ones. Edaville has 3 coasters, but 2 of them have been sitting there and collecting dust for the last 4 to 10 years. So the elephant in the room is truly Six Flags New England, sporting 11 coasters, including one of, if not the best 1-2 punch in the country, Superman the Ride and Wicked Cyclone. There's also a coaster inside a museum that you can actually ride, but that's going away next spring, so put on your coaster shirt, cargo shorts, fanny pack, and go over to the Massachusetts Museum of Contemporary Art and get yourself a credit. With 17 coasters, next up we have Minnesota, and in that big state, the 2 main parks are only a few miles apart, Valleyfair and Nickelodeon Universe. Right, you just came from the museum to ride coasters. Now you can dress up and visit the country's biggest mall and ride some more. These parks make up 13 of the 17, and that's amazing considering neither park has gotten anything new in a dozen years. Renegade, Wild Thing, SpongeBob SquarePants. These are the main coasters to check out. Then go to the Como Zoo in St. Paul and ride Tiger Tracks, going on 9 years old and the state's newest coaster.
Leading off the top 15, we have the Hoosier State with 18 coasters. The coasters of this state are pretty well dispersed, but Indiana Beach leads the state with 6 operating coasters, hopefully soon to be 7. In most other cases, we have counted coasters under construction. We decided to leave All-American Triple Loop off the list. We first heard that this coaster would be coming up from Mexico after its accident in 2020 and was supposed to open in 2021. Now it's 2024, and even though we've seen it test, I still don't fully buy into them getting this coaster open, but hopefully they prove me wrong. The other big player in the state is Holiday World, with its 5, soon to be 6 operating coasters, led by its 3 big Woodies, Voyage, Legend, and Raven. The first state with 20 coasters is Maryland. This state is boosted by Six Flags America, which gives it 9 of its 20 operating coasters with rides like Superman Ride of Steel and Wild One. Ocean City has 3 boardwalks that total 6 more coasters to the count, and Adventure Park USA has 3 coasters, but Wild West Express was recently listed for sale, so I think it's pretty fair to say this one shouldn't count. You can get your mountain coaster fix at Wisp Resort, which helps round out a solid collection. Next up is Colorado with 23 coasters, and this one is all over the place. You got a Lich Gardens, which leads the pack with 6 coasters, and then it gets a little weird. Also in Denver, there's Lakeside Amusement Park, which seems like the zombie form of an amusement park. According to RCDB, there's 3 currently operating coasters there and 2 SBNO coasters. Dragon hasn't operated in years, so we left it out of the count. Then there's Cyclone, which just recently went SBNO. We decided to count it as it's only held this status for about a year, and there's a shot it reopens as is one of the park's headlining attractions. Glenwood Caverns adds 4 more, and numerous standalone mountain coasters and kiddie coasters make up the rest. With 25 coasters, you have Virginia at the 12th spot. This one is a lot more cut and dry. Kings Dominion has over half the state's coasters with 13, but the only ones that really matter are Twisted Timbers and Intimidator 305. Oh, and Grizzly's pretty good now too. Busch Gardens Millionsburg adds 10 more to the count after its recent additions in Pantheon and Dark Coaster. You can also find another coaster in Williamsburg at Go-Karts Plus, along with one in Fredericksburg. Just barely edging out Virginia is its neighbor Tennessee with 26 coasters. The place to be is in the Pigeon Forge and Gatlinburg area where all the state's coasters reside. Dollywood now has 10 coasters following the addition of Big Bear Mountain. The rest of the coasters are either mountain coasters or smaller coasters. There's a couple of locations with 2 coasters like Anasquita and Rowdy Bear's Smoky Mountain Snow Park. There's also at least 1 zipline coaster in Pigeon Forge, but we left this off the list because RCGB doesn't count those, and that would put us in some murky waters. Given the continuous growth of Dollywood and the Pigeon Forge area as a whole, don't be surprised if this is a state that moves into the top 10 soon.
With 27 coasters and breaking into the top 10, this is Georgia. They have parks all over the state, but 16 of the 27 are right in the Atlanta area. 3 at Fun Spot, including the brand new and spectacular Air Force One, and 13 at Six Flags Over Georgia, featuring that 1-2 punch of Blue Hawk and Great American Scream Machine. Okay, not really, but those are pretty solid rides. That 1-2 punch is the RMC Twisted Cyclone in the B&M Hyper Goliath, one of the best of its kind out there. They also have Kid Flash that's brand new, plus an Intamin water coaster coming next year. So there's 3 new coasters for the city within the span of a year. Don't forget about Wild Adventures. They have 6 coasters, but all of them are clones. So get your credits, try not to be eaten by a gator, and go back to Air Force One. In 9th place with 28 coasters is Illinois. As you may expect, more than half of these came out of Six Flags Great America, possibly the best park in the whole chain. They've got an awesome, well-rounded lineup of 15 coasters. Raging Bull and Goliath being the headliners, and Ride Max Force if you don't like your face and need it ripped off. There are a bunch of random coasters around the state, but there is one other you shouldn't miss. Santa's Village Amusement Park. They've had 9 coasters come and go and only 3 remain. All portable, but anytime you can get 3 credits, you do it. Don't think about it, do it. In 8th place with 32 coasters is Missouri. This state has major parks to the west, the east, and the south. If you're north, I'm sorry, go to Iowa. On the west side, you have Worlds of Fun, one of the smaller Cedar Fair parks but still sporting 8 coasters, including 2 GCI Woodies in Zambezi Zinger and Prowler, a Morgan Hyper called Mamba, and a B&M Invert called Patriot. To the east, you have Six Flags St. Louis. Again, one of the lesser parks in the Six Flags chain, but still with 10 coasters, including 3 wooden coasters and the amazing Mr. Freeze Reverse Blast. The state's premier park is down in Branson, Silver Dollar City. They have 7 coasters, including the world-class Time Traveler and Outlaw Run. Branson is also home to mountain coasters, and you have some random small coasters around to push us into 8th place. In 7th place with 43 coasters is Ohio. Sometimes I think we forget that Ohio isn't that big. They just happen to have 2 of the biggest and best parks in the country, and they've also seen 178 coasters be taken down over the years. 14 of them were at Geauga Lake, but it's insane how many major parks have been shut down in Ohio over the years. Cedar Point is still going strong 153 years after its debut. They've closed 18 coasters but still have 17 going, and they have a history of shattering records. Gemini, Magnum XL 200, Millennium Force, Top Thrill Dragster, now known as Top Thrill 2, and that doesn't even mention the park's premier rides, Maverick and Steel Vengeance. Kings Island is right behind Cedar Point, prepping their 15th coaster for next year, the Beast being their most iconic, with massive B&Ms in Banshee, Diamondback, and Orion, so Cedar Point and Kings Island combined for 32 of the 43. Also, if you happen to be in Southwest Ohio on one of the 4 days a year that Strickers Grove is open, hit up Tornado and Teddy Bear. In 6th place with 52 coasters is New York. I never would have thought New York had Ohio beat, but they have 9 more coasters. How is this possible? Well, they have a ton of parks all over the state. Let's start in New York City and Coney Island. Luna Park has 8 and Dino's Wonder Wheel has 3. The headliner here being the world's most famous coaster, the Cyclone. There's also a bunch of parks in the Northwest. Six Flags Darien Lake having 8, including the Intamin Hyper Ride of Steel, 4 at Seabreeze, including the classic Jackrabbit, and 4 at Niagara Amusement Park, the park that just got another lease on life. Their headliner is the CCI Woody Silver Comet. You also have a good collection of coasters at Adventureland, Ride Playland, and when you head upstate, you run into Great Escape. One of those small Six Flags parks is about to open their 6th coaster next year, the Gravity Group family coaster called Bobcat.
In 5th place, we have New Jersey. Some may call New Jersey New York's JV team, but that line doesn't hold up in terms of roller coasters, as New Jersey just edges out New York with 53 coasters. The biggest contributor here is Six Flags Great Adventure, with 15 coasters including El Toro, Nitro, King Ka, and the new Flash Vertical Velocity. There's also a total of 23 coasters on the Jersey Shore, with 7 of those at Maury's Piers, and 4 apiece at Playland's Castaway Cove and Casino Pier. Steel Pier in Atlantic City will also have 3 coasters by 2025 when their new Wild Mouse and Skyrocket 2 open. The newest park in the state is Nickelodeon Universe, and it has 5 coasters including TMT Shellraiser, the world's steepest coaster. In 4th place with 58 coasters, we have New Jersey's neighbor, Pennsylvania. In PA, there's 5 parks with 5 or more coasters. The leader is Hershey Park with 14 coasters, which has been growing rapidly in recent years, with the additions of Wildcat's Revenge and Candemonia. Kennywood and Dorney Park both have 8. Standouts at Kennywood are Steel Curtain and Phantom's Revenge, the park's 2 hypercoasters. Dorney Park will open their 8th coaster next year with Iron Menace. Knoebels gives the state 6 more coasters, including its 3 Woodies. Waldameer has 5 coasters that are all fairly small besides the masterful Ravine Flyer 2. Pennsylvania used to be in the number 2 spot, but in the past few years, 2 states have jumped in front of it. In 3rd place with 59 coasters is Florida. Florida has really pushed its way up the list in the past few years. Every major park besides Animal Kingdom and Universal Studios has gotten 1 or more coaster additions in the state. Disney World has a total of 9 coasters, boosted by the recent additions of Tron and Guardians of the Galaxy. Universal Studios has 4 coasters, while Islands of Adventure has 5 after the additions of Velocicoaster and Hagrid's. The new Epic Universe is slated to have 4 coasters when it opens in 2025. SeaWorld Orlando will have 8 coasters once Penguin Trek opens in 2024. Busch Gardens Tampa will have 10 coasters after Phoenix Rising opens in 2024 too. Don't forget about the 2 Fun Spot parks either, which combine for 7 more coasters, and Legoland, which has 3. Florida will definitely keep growing, but may have trouble outpacing our silver medal state. In 2nd state with 64 coasters, we have the great state of Texas. Like Florida, Texas has recently experienced a population boom that has led to a growing amusement industry in the state. Six Flags Over Texas has the most coaster of any park in the state with 14. Its sister park in San Antonio, Six Flags Fiesta Texas, has been adding coasters left and right, and it now has a total of 12. SeaWorld San Antonio has 6 coasters, and Wonderland Amusement Park and Yesterland Farm each have 4 coasters. Codaland should have 5 coasters when the park fully opens in 2025, including Circuit Breaker and Palindrome, which seem to be under construction. Texas and Florida are both growing fast, but they still are worlds behind our gold medal winner. In 1st place with a whopping 94 coasters, we have California. California has 2 major areas for coasters, Northern California and Southern California. The park with the most coasters in the state and the world is Six Flags Magic Mountain with a staggering 20 coasters. Knott's Berry Farm has another 9 coasters, including Montezuma's Revenge, given that it opens again. SeaWorld San Diego has 5 coasters, the 2 Disney parks have 6 coasters combined, and Universal Studios Hollywood will have 3 once Fast and Furious opens. Moving up north to the Bay Area, the 2 main parks here are California's Great America with 9 coasters and Six Flags Discovery Kingdom with 10. There's also parks like Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk, Pacific Park, Gilroy Gardens, Castle Park, Adventure City, among many others that contribute to the count, putting the state well ahead of the competition. So those are the top 25 states with the most roller coasters in the country. My one question that I want to leave you guys with is, do you think that any state will catch California, and how long do you think it'll take? California is still the most populous state, and it's not very close right now. Both California's Great America anticipated to close in the near future, and new parks anticipated to open in Texas and Florida that could push their numbers up. The gap could start to close a little bit, but even with that considered, it would still be about 20 to 25 coasters, which is not easy to make up, unless you just move Six Flags Magic Mountain to one of those states. That would make it pretty easy. Anyways, I'd like to thank Airtime Thrills for helping me make this video possible. I'd like to reiterate that you should go check out his channel right now if you haven't, and make sure to watch episode 1, and you'll get to hear me talk about some more coasters. If you'd like to hear me talk about roller coasters and amusement parks even more, make sure to subscribe for more content coming very soon. Also, don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed, as that would greatly help us out. With all that being said, I'd like to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.